2021 was a season in which we saw lots of stars have down years. There were many players who simply didn't look the same, and that is exactly what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to be looking at some stars who had down seasons in 2021 that I think will have bounce back seasons in 2022. And quick disclaimer before we hop into the video, I'm not really ranking these in any sort of order. I'm just naming off some players that I think can bounce back. So with that in mind, let's hop right into the video. First up today, I have Nola of the Philadelphia Phillies. Prior to last year, Nola was well known as one of the best starters in the game, but last year he simply did not look the same. He pitched in 181 innings where he went 9-9 with a 4.63 ERA to go along with a 1.13 whip and 223 strikeouts. It was very surprising to see Nola's ERA as inflated as it was, as over the previous 4 seasons he had not had an ERA above 4. He was simply not commanding the ball well last year, as he was walking a lot of batters and of course letting up lots and lots of hits. But judging off of what we've seen from Nola in the past, I really do think he's going to bounce back. I don't think his ERA is going to be even close to what it was last year. In all honesty, I would not be surprised at all to see Nola have a sub-3 ERA and be a legitimate Cy Young candidate. I mean, this guy has just proved year in and year out that he's one of the best pitchers in the game, and I think last year was an anomaly. Next up, I have Christian Yelich of the Milwaukee Brewers. Yelich is coming off back-to-back disappointing seasons where he really has people questioning whether he's ever going to be the same. He went from nearly winning back-to-back MVP awards in 2018 and 2019 to being a below-average hitter over the past 2 seasons. Last year, Yelich played in 117 games where he hit .248 with 9 home runs, 51 RBIs to go along with a .736 OPS. He's had some injuries here and there, which brings up a lot of questions about whether he has really been healthy over the past couple years, but he's also seemed to lost a lot of confidence up there at the plate. And I'm not taking any shots at Yelich's character by saying that. I mean, when you go from as good to Yelich was to how bad he has been, I'm pretty sure it's going to take a mental hit on anyone. But going into this season, I'm confident Yelich is going to be a lot better than he has been over the past 2 years. I'm not saying he is going to revert back to his MVP days, but I could see him hitting around 20 to 25 home runs, maybe stealing 20 bases, all while hitting 270 to 280. And in my opinion, that is a bounce back season when you consider how bad Yelich has played recently. I really do like Yelich. I think he's a solid player, and I think he will bounce back in 2022. Next up, I have Cody Bellinger of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Bellinger had a really bad year last year. You could really make the argument that he had the worst individual season of 2021. He played in 95 games where he hit .165 with 10 home runs to go along with a .542 OPS and a -1.5 WAR. Prior to 2021, we had never seen Cody Bellinger play even close to this bad, so it was a shock to see him come out and play as bad as he did. Now, obviously, with how good he has been in the past and how bad he was last year, he is obviously a bounce-back candidate. This one really isn't too hard to predict. It's almost impossible in my eyes for Bellinger to play just as bad as he did last year. I just do not see it happening, especially with how good Bellinger was in his last full season in 2019. He hit 47 home runs and drove in 100 plus while winning the National League MVP award. So clearly I think Bellinger is going to bounce back. He may not be his MVP self, but I think he could hit 30 plus home runs and be a very productive player for LA, especially hitting in that loaded lineup. Next up, I have Mookie Betts of the LA Dodgers. Betts has been one of the best players in baseball ever since making his debut back in 2014. He's finished top 3 in the MVP voting 3 separate times, and he also has 5 gold gloves to go along with 4 silver slugger awards. He's all around an amazing ball player, but last year he wasn't quite as good. He played in 122 games where he hit .264 with 23 home runs, 58 RBIs to go along with 10 stolen bases and an .854 OPS. So Betts was good, but not good for his standards. The fact that those numbers I just read off are considered a bad season for Mookie Betts goes to show just how good he is. But looking forward to 2022, I think he's going to have another MVP caliber season. I think he's going to bounce back and be in the heart of the MVP discussion all year long. And a lot of people seem to be forgetting about just how good Mookie Betts has been. People aren't even putting him in their top 10 players in baseball, but for me, I think he is clearly a top 10 player. Next up, I have Bizzo of the Toronto Blue Jays. Bizzo had a pretty good rookie season back in 2019 where he clubbed 14 home runs and ended up stealing 16 bases in 100 games. And he also played pretty well in the shortened season back in 2020. but last year he took a big step back. He played in only 79 games where he hit .224 with 7 home runs to go along with 27 runs batted in and a .678 OPS. Bizzo was a major disappointment last year, especially considering Toronto was one of the best lineups in all of baseball. Just seeing how good Toronto was offensively last year, you would have definitely thought that Bizzo would have been a big part of it and a big reason why Toronto was so good. But he just didn't look the same last year. But going forward into this 2022 season, I think he is going to bounce back. I think he's going to have a solid season. I don't think he's going to be like an amazing MVP caliber player, but I could see him hitting 20 to 25 home runs and hitting around 270. On top of that, he's also heading into his age 27 season, so he's really entering the prime years of his career, so I think he is going to bounce back. Next up, I have Trevor Story of the Colorado Rockies. Story has been well known as one of the best shortstops in the game over the past couple seasons, but last year he did take a step back. In consecutive seasons in 2018 and 2019, he hit 35 plus home runs, hit above 290, and also stole 20 plus bases. And he does all this while being one of the best defensive shortstops in the game. But like I said before, last year was a down year for Story as he played in 142 games where he hit .251 with 24 home runs to go along with 75 runs driven in, 20 stolen bases, and an .801 OPS. And if we're being completely honest here, that is a pretty solid season from a shortstop. I mean, the guy still had a 20 home run, 20 stolen base season. But we all know what Trevor Story is fully capable of. He showed that back in 2018 and 2019. And looking forward into 2022, Trevor Story is most likely not going to be in Colorado, which means his offensive production might take a downturn. But overall, I think his numbers are going to be up from last year. I think he's going to be a little bit better, but I don't think he is quite going to reach his 2018 and 2019 numbers. Being a Rockies fan, I'm obviously a huge fan of Trevor Story. I can't wait to watch him play this year regardless of what team he is on. And the last bounce back candidate I have today, it's Zach Gallen of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Just a couple years ago, Gallen was a top prospect in Miami's system, and ever since getting traded over to Arizona, expectations have been very high. He had a very good rookie season back in 2019 where he pitched 80 innings between Miami and Arizona and had a 2.81 ERA. And in 2020, he was just as good, if not better, as he pitched in 72 innings where he had a 2.75 ERA and finished 9th in the National League Cy Young voting. And with Gallen heading into his age 25 season last year, like I said, the expectations were very high. People were really picking him as a dark horse Cy Young candidate. But unfortunately for Gallen, things didn't go as planned. He pitched in 121 innings where he went 4-10 with a 4.3 ERA to go along with a 1.29 whip and 139 punchouts. So this was clearly a big step back from what he showed us in his first 2 big league seasons, and it was a big disappointment all around. But I do think Arizona is going to be improved last year. I mean, they really can't get much worse, and I think Gallen is going to be a lot better as well. I could see him pitching to a sub-3 ERA and punching out close to 200 batters, so I think he's going to have a very good season. He could maybe even be an all-star. I'm a big believer in Zach Gallen. I think what we saw last year is not the pitcher he is. I think we're going to see something more like 2019 and 2020. So there you have my bounce-back candidates for this 2022 season. Let me know what you guys think down below, where you agree or disagree, or some bounce-back candidates that you believe in that I possibly missed. And as always, if you guys do enjoy the content, feel free to subscribe. I'm going to continue to post a lot more baseball videos here as we head closer to the 2022 season. And lastly, I want to thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.